Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the meeting of Cabinet on Thursday, 19th November via Teams. I'll go first for apologies for absence, please, Mr. Evans.
There are no apologies.
Okay, thank you. On to disclosures of personal or prejudicial interest. Are there any to report? I can see some members' hands up, so I'll go to Councillor Francis Davies first.
Yes, item 8, Wales National Pool, Swansea, a personal and prejudicial interest as a director of that organisation.
Thank you, Francis Davies. Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. A personal and prejudicial interest in item 14, local authority government appointments as election agent for Hannah Lawson, who's named in the report.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Rayner.
Thank you, Leader. Item 14, local authority governor appointments. I have a decision from the Standards Committee that I can stay and speak but not vote.
Okay, thank you very much. And Councillor Lewis.
Personal only in item 9 and item 10 as a board director for Swansea Community Energy and Enterprise Scheme.
Okay, thank you very much. If you could all lower your hands if you've declared your interest. Are there any other that I've missed? Can't see any others. Okay, thank you very much. On then to the minutes of the previous meeting, pages 1 to 6. I've not had any asks for correction. Councillor Lewis?
Yeah, can I just raise, Leader? It appears Councillor Holly has joined us on the Cabinet in the present record. He's also mentioned in the also present record, so he's been mentioned twice.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. We'll make that amendment. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah.
Are there any other amendments to the minutes? If not, are we all happy to move those minutes? Yeah, agree is a true record. Okay, thank you very much. Announcements of Leader of the Council. I have no formal announcements this morning. Move then to public question time. Mr. Evans, have we received any questions from members of the public?
None.
Okay, thank you. And we move then to councillor question time. Again, I'll take questions from councillors. I believe Councillor Jones has some questions for today.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I've submitted my 3 questions, but as obviously the public haven't heard them, I will read them out. The first one, and I thank the Cabinet member for her responses before I get them. Bearing in mind, I haven't had any briefings and I haven't heard the Cabinet member's report. So these questions are obviously taken just from the Cabinet report. I note from Appendix D that part of the financing for this programme is coming from the Capital Equalisation Reserve. Given that we are being told that the Capital Equalisation Reserve is being used for the city and other projects, can the Cabinet member confirm that there is sufficient monies available, and what happens if any project comes in over budget?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jones, for that one.
If you want all 3, or do you want them one at a time?
I was going to say, if you want to do all 3 questions, because I think the question 1 is more of a finance question, so I'll deal with that one, and Councillor Lewis will deal with the other 2.
Okay, thank you.
Could Councillor Jones say which item on the agenda the question is
referring to? I apologise. I did send it in. It's item 7, the Oracle Programme Replan Report. Sorry, I knew the Leader knew. I do apologise. Question 2, in 4.3, page 10, the first bullet point, there is a reference to new work and potential policy changes come to light due to COVID, which were not in the original scope. What are they? And question 3 is, how confident are you that A, the programme will be delivered by October 2021, and B, that costs will be able to be absorbed within the existing budgets? Where that, I'm sorry, I didn't put it on the end of the question, where that's said in the report. So it doesn't really refer to question 1. This is what's said in the report about some, it has to be absorbed. I think it's the revenue costs, actually.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jones. I'll call Councillor Lewis in first. Councillor Lewis, if you want to deal with the responses to the questions that you've had, and then I'll come in from a finance perspective.
Yes, if I could leave question 1 for you to respond, Leader, as it is very much a finance question. Question 2 around what was not in the original scope is essentially we have entered a pandemic and the original scope did not account for that. And what has happened during the pandemic is the teams in-house have been diverted, as other departments and as other sections of the council have been, to other duties. There's been a large amount of home working, and staff have been very much working on trying to enable the other staff in the council to work from home in terms of IT support. They have, I'll probably give more detail when I introduce the report, but they've also been diverted in terms of helping with the contact centre and dealing with supporting the COVID response. So this is what we didn't have in the original scope, understandably, because who could have predicted where we would be right now? Question 3 about how confident am I that the programme will be delivered by October 2021? I was going to raise it when I introduced the report, that of course there will still be risks, and nobody can say for certain that things will be delivered on time. However, in order to mitigate those risks, the executive steering board for the Oracle team meet on a monthly basis, and if necessary, we meet far more regularly. And I have to pay credit to the staff on that team who flag up any issues, as they have done during the COVID pandemic, very quickly, and we work quickly to respond and adapt accordingly. So I am very confident that the programme is going to be delivered in an efficient fashion, because we've got an excellent in-house team. But I cannot give a cast iron guarantee that we will hit that October deadline, because there are a lot of uncertainties and unknowns at the moment, but we will do everything we can to pull out the stops to meet that deadline. And I'm sure the leader will comment on the costs being absorbed into existing budgets, but I'll leave that finance question to you, leader.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lewis. Councillor Jones, did you want to come back on anything Councillor Lewis has said?
Yes, thank you, leader. It's just, there's also a reference in 4.3 to policy changes, and I just wondered what the policy changes were. And thank you, Councillor Lewis. And actually, I've uttered those words that you've uttered myself over question 3 in the past. So I do hope that, sorry, the connection's gone. I hope that you'll be able to deliver it on time and in budget. But that's all I want to know about policy changes that are mentioned in 4.3.
The policy changes referred to in 4.3 are very much centred around our change in ways of working and learning the lessons from this pandemic. We've had an incredible amount of staff, as you can appreciate, working from home. And so we've had to factor that in to our new plans. And that's the policy changes that are referred to there, because there will be a new transformative way of working for this council. Some would argue for the better, because obviously it reduces travel and journeys to our public buildings and reduces our carbon footprint, ironically, as we have the climate plan on the agenda as well today. But those are the policy changes that are referred to.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Lewis. Councillor Jones, in terms of the financing of this, I mean, I do understand why you raise the risks you do with Councillor Lewis, because as you quite rightly said, you've been through this yourself, and you would expect me to mention the Capgemini arrangements, because we know when a programme goes badly wrong how much it can impact. So you know, I think, as Councillor Lewis referred, though, given that we've now brought those jobs that were outsourced to Scotland back to Swansea, and that we now have the IT back in-house, we are now able to exert more control over the programme. Clearly, nobody could foresee the pandemic hitting in the way that it has, but I think the work that Councillor Lewis and the team in IT have done to deal with that has been exceptional, and I think we're well placed, given our rollout with Agile, given where we are in terms of investment in the estate, to really deal effectively with that. And I think that's proved to be the case, because, of course, our staff in large numbers have been able to move, as Councillor Lewis said, to work from home using the IT. On the finances, though, I mean, taking from reserves is always something that we do as a last resort. I think Mr. Smith said at council recently, you know, this is a safety net approach. You know, we're taking money out of the capital equalisation reserve given the pandemic. And as we've done previously on things like the hospital, our aim would be to replenish that reserves. I would point out as well, though, that, you know, coming out of the recent year of council, we had an £18 million surplus, which meant that we put significantly additional sums into reserves. So we're still net good 8 million, even with taking the full 10 million safety net out. Of course, not all of that will go to fund the IT improvements. And again, it's not unusual because, you know, again, you will recollect that on a number of occasions between 2004 and 2012, you did indeed go and use reserves yourselves for purposes. And I think, you know, the justification here in terms of going to reserves during a pandemic, I mean, if you can't use reserves during a pandemic, when would you use them? So I think this is measured, I think it's purposeful, and I think it's appropriate. And I think, you know, as Mr. Smith has previously given advice on, it is a use of reserves, but as soon as we're able to, our aim is to continue to replenish those reserves.
Thank you very much. I have further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jones. We'll move then to the next item on the agenda, which is the Oracle Programme Replan report. So I'll go back to Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Leader. Cabinet members will recall that on the 19th of September 2019, as we've referred to very different times indeed, Cabinet approved the Enterprise Resources Planning ERP System Upgrade Oracle Cloud Implementation Programme. At that time, there was a need for the system to be live by November 2020, and those reasons are listed at 1.2. The COVID impact since then, since March, have pulled the team in different directions, as I've referred to. And in addition to what I've said to Councillor Jones, they also dealt with payments to 5,000 businesses through the service centre. They helped with the shielding and the food bank programme and the procurement of PPE and the delivery of the TTP National Test, Trace, Protect system. So you can imagine that the demand on the team was pulled in many directions due to the pandemic, and they responded excellently. But this left us with a difficulty in resource to concentrate on the Oracle programme as well. In addition to that, we had difficulties with the companies. They were also experiencing difficulties due to the pandemic with their staffing resource. So it was an in-house and an external issue for us. So 3.4, on the 31st of March, the Executive Steering Board for the Oracle programme invoked the force majeure clause due to the pandemic and spoke with the provider, Infosys, and began discussions on the replanning of the programme. This was purely down to the pandemic and our response and the impact it was going to have on delivery. The most viable option was agreed for Infosys to withdraw from June 2020 after a controlled and planned shutdown. The recommended option is to fully suspend the programme at this time, and the high-level plan is to restart in earnest in February 2021. And as I've said to Councillor Jones, we will do everything we can to ensure that that programme is delivered on time by October 2021. But we've also put into place, for example, Oracle have very kindly agreed to extend their support to enable this to happen, and Infosys have been incredible. But I have to say, I would like to pay significant tribute to the team who've done an outstanding job. And I think that this is absolutely the right thing to do at this time when things are still remain uncertain. And this gives us more assurance and more security in terms of programme delivery. So I take Cabinet members to page 7. I move the report and the recommendation is the paused phased return and programme replan are approved together with the necessary financial increase in order to achieve successful implementation of this corporate system.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis. Does anybody wish to come in and comment or ask Councillor Lewis any questions? If not, you've got the recommendations, Councillor Lewis. I believe you moved them formally.
Yes, Leader.
Okay, I'm happy to second. So we will go to the vote. All those against, first of all, if you wish to say or show. Okay, none. All those who wish to abstain. Again, none. All those in favour, please show or say, please. Aye.
Aye.
Four.
Four.
Thank you very much. That's unanimous. I could ask you all to put your hands down. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Lewis. We'll now go to the Wales National Pool report. I will pause here for a second to allow Councillor Francis Davis to leave the meeting.
If somebody can come back and let me know when it's back on, I'm leaving now.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the report that we see before us, I don't intend going into a huge amount of details because I know it's been well discussed up to this point. What we're asking to do here is to provide support of up to £350,000 for the national pool from the 1st of August to the 31st, 2021. People will know that Wales is home to this national facility, and like many of the leisure and hospitality facilities, it has required additional support due to the COVID restrictions. The ability to house numbers of people to a viable level in that facility safely has not been possible, and therefore ourselves and the university has, as co-funders of that facility, required to put some assistance in. I'm sure the people of Swansea would want us to continue to support a national facility in Swansea and continue to do what we have been doing as a council, which is to be at the forefront of help for facilities like this and for businesses and jobs across Swansea, because again, the challenges that the national pool have are temporary because of the COVID restrictions. It is not about a facility that's not viable. It's not a facility that is in difficulties. It is just that it's being hit by the pandemic at the current time. I'm very pleased as well to receive support from the Welsh Government, because again, this is not all just Swansea Council and the university putting money in. There is support from Welsh Government here as part of their programmes of support. So I don't intend to say much more on that, other than I think, I would recommend Cabinet support this strongly because we have a fantastic facility in Swansea, which is of national standing, and we do need to do the right thing to support that to get through this crisis. I will pause. I don't know whether Mr. Smith wants to add anything in terms of the report. I'm more than happy to bring him in if he wishes to do so.
I think there's nothing I need to add, Chair. It's quite clear, the report. It's very consistent with the treatment you've done for a number of other leisure providers and for the very reasons you've already stated. So I have nothing to add, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. More than happy to open it up for questions or comments if anybody wishes to come in. No? Okay. Could I ask somebody, I formally moved the recommendations on page 25, the three there. Could I ask for a seconder, please?
I'm happy to second.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move to the vote then, as we did before. So I'll ask for those against first, if you could show or say, please. Okay, none. I'll move then to abstentions. Again, if you could show or say. Again, none. And again, if you could show or say if you are in favour of the recommendations. Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. And again, that is unanimous. Thank you. If we could pause again for a second while we call Councillor Francis Davis back in, and if you voted, we're using your virtual hand, I'd ask you to return them back down.
I've invited him and he's rejoined, Councillor.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have the Climate Emergency Declaration Policy Review and Proposed Action Plan. I go back to Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Leader. Just to take members back to 27th of June 2019, where the notice of motion on climate change emergency was presented to Council. There's been an incredible amount of activity and work since that date, and I'd just initially like to pay tribute and thanks firstly to Martin Nichols, Director of Place, for his significant involvement in pulling this plan together, The Development Committee, and I know Councillor Gibbard is in attendance today, and I'd like to thank Councillor Gibbard, who was the current chair at the time, and the committee members for their valuable input, which was really helpful and helped also mould the plans. And we went out and engaged with a significant amount of members on the Environment Centre Committee. A lot of interested groups who are particularly interested in climate change. There was quite a variety of organisations sitting on that board, and they were also very helpful in terms of helping us formulate the plan. So as a result of all the work that's been done today, it's recommended that we have 2 work streams for this climate change proposal. The first work stream is that we deal with our direct and indirect emissions as a council, and that we try to reach net carbon zero by 2030 for our in-scope emissions. That is relatively straightforward in terms of organisation, because we have control over our actions and what we do as a local authority, and this would be very much a cross-directorate, cross-departments approach, and will be everybody's business. Workstream 2 will be more of a significant challenge, and that is looking at across the city and county of Swansea, the public, the businesses, and involving those in their actions and engaging with them in terms of education, awareness and encouragement, so that the whole city County of Swansea can reach net carbon zero by 2050. So, you know, significant challenges, but this is definitely something that we feel in Swansea that we should be approaching. It's interesting, actually, that I was watching the news yesterday, and the UK government has suddenly come up with a green strategy. And I have to say, my immediate thought was, well, we've been doing this for a long time, and you need to catch up with us, because Swansea Council have been leading the way for a number of decades, actually, and we are in a really strong position. And there have been many achievements to date. So, for example, since the baseline year of 2010, we've already had carbon emission reduction of 55.9%. So, you know, we've already made significant strides as a local authority. Of course, that will make the challenge slightly more difficult going forward, but we will continue to meet that challenge. I'm sure that Cabinet members will wish to comment. There's so many things which are, it's fair to say, outside of my portfolio, and I welcome them commenting on those. But just to touch upon, and I'm sure Councillor Lloyd will come in, I can see Councillor Lloyd's hands up, about the Swansea Pension Fund. The council underwrote the Swansea Community Energy and Enterprise Scheme, and without the council that wouldn't have happened. That's a not-for-profit organisation with solar on 11 schools and 1 care home. We've got the EGNI project, where we're in the process of installing. We've installed on several, and we continue installation on other schools. We're building the first council houses in a generation to an extremely high energy standards, and we've got the homes as power stations, City Deal model, and the Swansea standard. And we're looking at exploring a mass rollout in terms of air source heat pumps for our council houses, but that is something that's very early doors, and our procurement teams are looking at that at the moment. We've got active travel. We've supported the Swansea University Cycle Scheme. We've implemented agile working, as I've said, reducing unnecessary travel, and our local procurement practices are focusing on local supply chains and local suppliers, local contractors on our frameworks, so that we can reduce our carbon footprint. Education played a significant role in terms of eco-school programmes. The natural environment integrated into our corporate plan. Swansea Public Service Board focusing on a greener Wales. Street lighting upgraded to 21,000 LED lights, and electric vehicle charging pillars serving 32 recharging bays, which is just phase 1 of our programme. The council as well procure 100% renewable electricity currently. Not sure if that fact is widely known. And it's just, you know, the list goes on. And as I said, Cabinet members, I'm sure, would be more than welcome to comment on their particular portfolios and what they're leading on. So 3.1.1, we reviewed over 100 council policies, and we tied those in, you see in the diagram, to 8 key themes. And work stream 1 is about Swansea Council reaching net carbon zero, and the energy strategy is mentioned there, and of course that is the next programme, so the next report, sorry, so I'll comment more fully on that. The green infrastructure strategy, the local biodiversity plan, the local development plan, and the procurement strategy, and of course our housing strategy. So over the next 12 months we will be developing our action plan. This will be very much underpinned by the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, the goals and the ways of working. So I'm going to go back to the recommendations, but before I do, I think it's critically important with everything that's actually going on at the moment. It is really important that, sorry, I've seen the notes pop up, Leader, and I will be moving an amendment, but I think if Hugh has got it to hand, have you got the amendment to hand, Hugh? You're on mute too.
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'll ask you to read the amendment out, but I'm more than happy to support that. I do apologise, I should have done that at the beginning of the report. I just wanted to say, with everything that's going on with the pandemic at the moment, this is not an insignificant commitment for us as a council. This is committing us to 10 years changing ourselves and our ways of working in-house. And this is 30 years of trying to influence the communities and the businesses across the city county of Swansea. This is about our legacy and our future generations, and what Swansea can do to play their part in tackling climate change. So I'm very pleased to bring this report today, and I refer to Hugh Evans to read out the amendment, Leader.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor. This is an additional paragraph asked to be added to the main body of the report. So this will be an additional then paragraph 3.1.4. The report also clearly incorporates the requirements and aspirations of the Environment Wales Act 2016. Although we understand Welsh Government are undertaking a review to further improve the net zero target by 2050, any strategy and future action plan will incorporate any new requirements arising of the legislative changes. So that's an additional paragraph.
Thank you, Hugh. I'm happy to support that amendment. It's important that we refer to Welsh Government's plans. As has been stated in the amendment, we don't know what the revised strategy for Welsh Government looks like as yet, but this is a living document, and we will adapt accordingly when we have confirmation of what their new Environment Act looks like and the implications for us as a council. So with that, Leader, I'm happy to move the recommendations as they're listed on page 39, that Cabinet notes the progress to date, agrees to sign up to the Climate Change Charter, and we will be asking not just yourself, Leader, and Cabinet, but we will be asking at Council for the political group leaders, the opposition leaders, to also sign up to that. And following that, I look forward to us encouraging local businesses and organisations to also sign up to the Charter, so that we can all work together to strive towards that 2050 target. And then Cabinet endorses the action plan set out at paragraphs 3 to 6 for Swansea Council to achieve net carbon zero by 2030 for its own in-scope emissions, and agrees to undertake further work in developing the longer-term climate change strategy and striving towards net carbon zero by 2050 for Swansea, and that a further report will be presented following the public consultation. very happy to move this report. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis. Moved as amended. Yep.
As amended.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So I'll go to Councillor Lloyd next.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I'm happy to second the report. I think it's. I'd like to congratulate Councillor Lewis and the officers, as she said, presenting this report, which is no mean feat, and I think it's obvious the amount of work that's gone on into it by officers. But as she says, it touches every part of the council, and you know, we've all got a role, we've all got a responsibility in ensuring that the policy is delivered for not only the current generation but obviously future generations. We shouldn't be surprised, though, should we really, that we're at the forefront in Wales in putting this type of policy together. Swansea has always been the lead in promoting sustainable development policies. I think we were the first council in Wales to set up a designated sustainable development team, and that has been widely recognised for many years. I'll just remind Cabinet that back in 2016, Swansea Council was recognised at a UK-wide level as being the most sustainable public sector organisation in the UK, and I think that was you know, huge recognition for the officers in the sustainable development team at the time, and the work that they'd laid in getting the council on the road to taking climate change seriously and putting policies in place which deliver the sorts of changes that the residents of Swansea, I think, really want to see. I will touch briefly. Councillor Lewis touched on the pension fund, and as chair is the pension fund. I will make a quick comment just for the record, Leader. Pension fund is specifically mentioned in the motion, and I'll be reminded that the Pension Fund Committee adopted a policy 3 years ago to commit to reduce exposure to carbon-based investments by 50% in 2022. I shall be bringing a report to update Council on progress towards that goal in December. I'm really pleased to be able to do that, and I will be able to report huge progress towards achieving that target. That not only puts us in a position to be at the forefront of divestment from carbon-based investments in pension funds throughout the UK, but allows us to carry on that work and possibly exceed the targets that we set ourselves by 2022. So I know that there will be people that will be interested, particularly in the pension fund. We get a lot of lobbying, but there will be a full report coming to Council in December with some really positive progress.
Thank you, Councillor Lloyd. Councillor Rayner.
Thank you, Leader. I too really welcome this policy review and the proposed action plan. Cabinet members and all councillors, who are school governors in particular, will have heard how climate change discussions have driven the direction of eco committees and how schools have developed outdoor learning and the entire issues of sustainability, climate, single-use plastics, clean air throughout the whole school curriculum, and the new curriculum gives us an opportunity to develop this even further. What this action plan shows to me is that as a council, we have listened to the voice of our children and young people. It's their futures, and they have been really concerned about what is being done. And I think the council is doing a fantastic job in responding to those concerns and helping those young people develop a healthier, safer future. So thank you to everyone who has worked on this. Happy to support when it comes to final recommendation. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Rayner. I can't see any hands up. Are there any other members who wish to come in on this report or comment?
Councillor Thomas, Leader.
Yeah, apologies, Councillor Thomas coming in.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, can I firstly thank Councillor Lewis for bringing this report. Really, I mean, on behalf of the council, the residents of Swansea, but in particular on behalf of all of us cabinet members as well. As Councillor Lewis said, this touches every part of the council, and every part, you know, every one of us within their portfolio has a bearing on and an influence on our climate strategy. Obviously, Councillor Lewis has touched on sort of the headlines. But I think what it does is give us a chance to explain and to show people and demonstrate to the residents we represent that this isn't just about what we're going to do in the future. It's very much about what we have done and what we're currently doing. There's an awful lot. Report is very expansive and extensive. And just looking through within my own portfolio, and I'm not going to go through all the details because, you know, there's we're doing a lot with transport. We've got the biggest electric fleet. Councillor Lewis has touched on the benefits to LED street lamps and what they bring. But in particular, I wanted to look at on the sustainable transport strategy on page 47. It gives particular reference to our active travel ambitions. Now, for many people, I think that they think that active travel is just about a leisure activity where people can or can't, or may not want to just jump on their bike and go for a ride. That's part of it, but it's by no means all of it. I mean, we have a manifesto commitment and a pledge shared with the residents of Swansea, developed in 2017, that we are going to expand our network across the whole, you know, everywhere across Swansea. And we're actively doing that. As I said previously at Cabinet, we have, you know, managed to secure the best and most active travel funding from Welsh Government of any authority this year, and we're continuing to do that. But the purpose behind this is not just leisure. It is clearly in order to aim for and expand our climate emergency targets, we need to get people out of cars, onto bikes, more walking, more cycling, and less in cars. So it's partly a desire and a nice thing to have, but it's also a real serious matter and a serious subject if we are serious about reducing climate impact on our environment. So that is an integral part of our work, and I don't think sometimes that always captures the attention that it warrants and needs. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Does anybody else wish to come in? I can't see any other hands up. Councillor Lewis, is there anything you wanted to respond to before I formally close?
Only to say, Leader, that reflecting fellow Cabinet members' comments today just goes to show that this is not one department, one section. This is a whole council approach. And I'm just listening to Cabinet members on all the work that's going on in their areas. As Councillor Thomas has referred to, there's already an incredible amount of work going on. This is about building on what we're doing and expanding on what we're doing. So I'm really proud to bring this report here today, and I want to thank and commend Cabinet members for the work they're doing in their areas as well.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Lewis. And just before I go to the vote, I'll obviously like to thank you and the team for the work that you've done. And you know, I think we do need to be rightly proud of where we've got to and where we're setting out where we're heading, because as you said, it's the national organisations that are still catching up with our position, and sometimes if you were to listen to some of the chatter from some of our some of the groups in Swansea who claim to stand up for the environment, they clearly don't understand what this council has achieved and what its policies are, and they misrepresent those situations purposefully sometimes. So I think not only do we need to do this, but we need to tell that story really well, because I think there is a very, very good story to be told here in terms of not just what we've done, but what we intend to do. And that can only be to the benefit of everyone who lives in Swansea and for our future generations. So with that, we will move to the vote. You've had the recommendations as amended, moved and seconded. And I will go first to those against. Anybody, if you wish to show or say now. Okay, there are none. We'll move to abstentions then. Again, anyone? No. Okay. And then those for, please show or indicate, please. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. And that's unanimous. Okay, we move to the next item then, which is, let me just find the page. Councillor Lewis again, and our energy plan, please.
Thank you, Leader. I promise you, I think this is my last report on the agenda today. Three all come at once. This is an updated plan. The original energy strategy came to us in 2016, And so this is an updated version, which is now the Energy and Carbon Management Plan. This came to the PDC on the 5th of October. And again, I'm really pleased and grateful to the PDC for their input. I'd also like to thank Tony Moss, our Energy Strategy Manager, who's done an excellent job in pulling this together. And I think Cabinet members will agree, when you see the action plan attached to this, it is extensive. So as was referred to in the climate report, the Energy and Carbon Management Plan is one of the 8 key policies illustrated in that diagram. And one of the key points that I wanted to raise to Cabinet today is intentionally, this strategy will no longer include highways and transportation activity. And that simply because it deserves a strategy on its own merits, because it is a huge plan, and I'm sure Councillor Mark Thomas will want to expand on that further. So again, achievements to date are listed in item 2. As I said previously, we've already reduced our carbon emissions by 55.9%, no mean feat, and that all our electricity is from 100% renewables, 41% of which is sourced from Wales. We've got the Refit's low carbon programme, a £1.3 million interest-free loan, where we will be updating 18 of our public buildings, and then the energy that's saved, i.e. the costs which are saved through energy savings, are used then to repay that loan. So that's an excellent scheme, and we look to develop that further, and it's thanks to Welsh Government for that. Cabinet have approved a 3 megawatt ground-mounted solar farm. Again, this will be a major contributor towards our carbon reduction. And I'm sure, Leader, that you would want to comment on the Swansea Bay Tidal Lagoon, but the potential savings there are an estimated 94,913 metric tonnes of carbon dioxide. That just goes to show the significance of the lagoon and how important that will be. Egni Cooperative, currently we've got 220 kilowatts of solar, roof solar on 3 of our comprehensives, and there are many other schools in the pipeline. And I've referred to skis, so won't refer to them again. I take members back to the recommendations on page 64, and that is that it's recommended that the Energy Strategy and Carbon Management Plan is approved for implementation. And at Appendix 2, as I said, you will see the extensive action plan which is in place. And so I'm very pleased, again, Leader, to formally move this report, and I'm happy to take questions.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you, Councillor Lewis. Does anybody wish to come in and comment? All I would say, yeah, Councillor Lewis, you did mention the proposal for tidal energy in Swansea Bay. We know, unfortunately, the tidal lagoon proposal didn't get support, and it's now not one that can be delivered. But there is still efforts, just not only in Swansea, but in the region, and hopefully in both governments in due course, where we will be able to show that tidal technology can be exploited and delivered in Swansea Bay, and more news on that is due very shortly. So very wise to reference that, as we're hopeful of an announcement shortly. Okay, so the report there has been moved. Can I have a seconder, please? If not, I'm happy to second. Okay. And we'll go to the vote. So all those against first, please. None. Okay. Anyone wishing to abstain? No. Okay, we'll go on then to all those in favour. Please show or indicate.
In favour.
Aye. Okay, thank you. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll go to the next item then, which is the third sector compact agreement update.
Thank you, Leader.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Pugh.
Never has there been really a more important time for this agreement between the council and the third sector. And the report identifies a compact liaison group that oversees the third sector and the council's set of commitments to collaborative work. There's equal membership, and currently, even though the report says that we meet, say twice a year due to the pandemic and ongoing sort of crisis, then we are meeting monthly to have that sort of strategic review of ongoing work. There's excellent pieces of work being produced here, and this allows for the monitoring of our outcomes. A key role in our recovery strategy in both our short-term and long-term phases, sits here, along with public sector bodies. The third sector are under huge pressure with reduced funding and increasing demands. The close working relationship is vital for the residents of Swansea, and adopting a co-productive approach leads to better outcomes for the people of Swansea. This compact agreement will help us to achieve our vision for Swansea, to develop good practice and to coordinate provisions. It creates an environment to discuss cross-boundary issues and influence joined-up solutions. This report sets out clearly our aims and objectives along with our shared values and principles. There will be annual reviews to assess progress and to aid future development. You will see attached the visual evaluation tools that I imagine you've all seen. They're easy to read, very informative. 58,509 people supported by the third during COVID. I'm proud to present this paper to update everyone and ask you to accept the report.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Pugh, and thank you for moving that. I'm happy to second. Is there anybody who wishes to come in and comment or ask any questions?
It is. Yeah. It's for information, Leader.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, in terms of what Councillor Pugh said, I'd like to put on record again my thanks and our thanks to the third sector, all the volunteers, all of the organisations. We could not have got through the pandemic in the way we have without those individuals and organisations out there every day supporting communities and helping people get through this really challenging and difficult time. And again, thank you, Councillor Pugh, for the work you're doing in the building those relationships with those organisations, because they are hugely valued by all of us, I know.
Thank you,
okay,
Leader.
so that is noted, that report. Mr. Evans, do we need to vote on noting? I don't think we do we?
No.
Thank you. We'll move then to the next item, which is, apologies, I've skipped over it. I believe it's Councillor Lloyd and the FPR7 Intermediate Care Fund Capital Scheme. Councillor Lloyd?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. This is a financial report which allows a flow of money from the Regional Integrated Care Fund, which is monies provided to the Regional Planning Board in terms of capital projects, which will the report will allow this money to flow into the capital budget in Swansea Council. Just as a reminder for members, the purpose of the Integrated Care Fund is highlighted in paragraph 1.2, in that it's working to help avoid unnecessary hospital admissions, inappropriate admissions to residential care, as well as preventing delayed discharges from hospital. Paragraph 3 highlights the schemes that we're talking about in this report. The first table in paragraph 3.1 highlights schemes that are already approved and are but are not completed and will flow into the capital budget for the period 2020-21. The second table highlights 3 schemes which are COVID related, in terms of some of the things we've had to do in terms of additional capital expenditure to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. So the first item is to Alexander Road, the Alexander Road facilities and Parkway facilities, which we refurbished and reopened in readiness for any contingency that we might have to put those buildings back into service for. So there is a slight amendment there, Mr. Evans, in that first table, which says Alexander House, and it should read Alexander Road. So I'll leave it there, Leader. These are important capital projects. They are highly regarded in terms of provision, much needed provision for some of those most vulnerable families. and individuals across Swansea. And so with that, I move that we accept this financial report and allow the monies from the Integrated Care Fund to flow into our own capital budgets.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lloyd. I'm very happy to second that and concur with your comments on everything you said. Is there any Cabinet member who wishes to come in and comment or ask a question on the report? I don't see any hands up. If not, the report has been moved and seconded, so we'll go to the vote. Those against first, please, if you could show or indicate. There are none. Okay, so we go to abstentions again, if you could indicate. There are none. And those in favour, please, if you could indicate or show.
Aye.
Right, thank you very much. That is carried and unanimous. Thank you, Councillor Lloyd. We'll move then to the next item, which is the capital programme authorisation for a 3G at Dylan Thomas Community School. Councillor Rayner.
Thank you, Leader. Really pleased to be bringing this report forward. This is another example of the partnership and co-production work with our schools. At the last meeting of Council, we heard you, Leader, describe a major sports project for Pontydalais Comprehensive School being developed by the local councillor Phil Downing. This report seeks Cabinet support for another excellent sports facility for Dylan Thomas School and the local community, led by the acting head teacher Paul Davis and the Chair of Governors Derek Roberts. In recent times, a number of schools have part-funded schemes for the benefit of the wider community. We've had extra spaces provided at Pennerbryn School, special school, funded by that school, early years and wraparound at Llwynderrow Primary, and at Kevin Hengoed Comprehensive, the school mainly funded a new build for the pupil number bulge in its large catchment area. From the report, you can see the school community hard in seeking grant funding from charitable organisations, which the council cannot access, providing those organisations with real evidence from the community that the school is central to that community and the sports scheme is very much needed in this part of Swansea. The council contribution in cash terms is £25,000, but we have to acknowledge the extensive in-kind support from officers. Development of this project has provided a template for future school-to-school work on developing exciting projects. Can I draw your attention to paragraph 1.4 in the report on the challenges that this school is successfully addressing? The school is a growing 11 to 16 secondary school, and its numbers are growing, in the heart of Swansea that serves the Town Hill and Cocket wards. These locations are amongst the most deprived wards in Wales. The school itself has the highest percentage of pupils in receipt of free school meals in Wales, currently 54%. That is, and I stress it, over half the pupils qualify for free school meals, and a staggering 80% of the school population live in the 20 most deprived wards in Wales. The school has the highest number of pupils with additional learning needs of any school in Wales and has 3 specialist teaching facilities. We really need to congratulate the school on the positive work they do. Throughout the report, it is clear the school has proactively sought planning and drainage and procurement advice and worked closely with council officers. In addition, the school has produced a business plan for running the facility in the evenings and weekends, working closely with local clubs, some of whom already use school facilities and work with the pupils. The summary of the financial implication, including potential income streams, can be found in Appendix A. I'm very happy to move the recommendation on page 145. Thank you, Leader.
Many thanks, Councillor Rayner. I'll go to Councillor Francis Davis next.
Yeah, happily second this, leader, and congratulate the head teacher there for the work put in, and also by officers of the council working with that. Councillor Rayner has said how good this school is doing, but also how important this is, not just to the school but to the community. The that is coming forward from the Garfield Weston and the Johan Cruyff Foundation is very much welcome. This insists on community use with the school, but it's great that this is truly a community school that not only looks after its pupils but wants to do its part for the community it serves, and congratulate the head teacher there and the chairman of governors, Derek Roberts, an ex-councillor on Swansea Council, who is doing a terrific job in that area. Much needed, and I look forward to seeing this along with the Pontarddulais one in the future, and work that's being carried out in Cefn Hingoed and up in Ysgol in Bryn Tawe, and the new pool that is being built. It shows the commitment of this council of community facilities, but making sure that our schools and our education system is not lacking in any area of Swansea going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Francis Davis, for seconding and for your comments there. Can I just add to what you've both said? Can I firstly pay my thanks to Councillor Rayner, because Councillor Rayner was the person who made sure that this got onto our radar, and that the work that the head had been doing there, and I have to commend the head for the way in which he has driven this process to make sure that he was in a position to speak to the council about delivering this scheme. But Councillor Rayner put it on our radar and made sure that we were aware of the great work going on there in terms of trying to secure additional resources to deliver this facility. And as you both said, through education and through our culture and tourism department, we are delivering a significant enhancement of facilities that will benefit people of Swansea. And I know, Councillor Francis Davis, you work together with Councillor Stevens, have been having discussions with ward members on how best to deliver play facilities into their wards. That £1 million that we've made available through yours and Councillor Stevens' efforts is now approaching £2 million in terms of leverage of additional funding in. And again, I think these are dramatic, innovative ways of delivering much better facilities for our communities across Swansea. There has not been anything on this scale being delivered for play in our communities ever in Swansea, and I think again this administration should be very proud of the work it's doing for our communities, both through our education delivery and through our leisure delivery into communities. So can I thank you both for the work that you're doing there. I'll move then, given that the report has been moved and seconded, to the recommendations and to the vote. They've been moved by Councillor Rayner, seconded by Councillor Francis Davis. All those against, first of all? Okay, there are any abstentions? One abstention from Councillor Rayner for the reasons outlined. No, or did you vote early? Sorry, Councillor Rayner. Wrong report, that's okay. And then to all those in favour, please show no. Okay, yep, in favour. Thank you very much. That is unanimous. Thank you all very much. We will now go to the next report, which I believe is the review of city centre parking charges. And Councillor Thomas.
No,
I've
you missed one, Chair.
Yeah. Apologies. Yes, I have. I've skipped a few actually. Let me go back. Hang on a second. The wonders of working on an iPad. The next report is
Local authority governors.
Governor appointments, and yes, Councillor Rayner, you've got your declared interest, which you declared earlier. Thank you. That's why I was on the wrong report. But Councillor Rayner, over to you to introduce the report.
Thank you. And I will be abstaining on this one. Our regular report to Cabinet regarding the generous members of the public who have stepped forward to become governors in our schools. The report you can see before you has the nominations which were approved in a meeting between myself, the Director of Education, and also with support from the Legal Department and the Education, the Schools Governor Department and admin officers. It's quite a team effort and draws on the skills matrix produced by school governing bodies themselves and reports received from head teachers and the chair of the governors. So you can see there in paragraph 1.1 the recommendations, and I'm happy to, having gone through all of them, to make the recommendations to Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rayner. Those have been made. I'm happy to second. See if there are any questions or comments. If not, we'll move to the vote again. All those against, please show. Any abstentions, please show. Thank you, Councillor Rayner. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. Yep, that is carried. Thank you very much. We move now then to the next item, which is the review of city centre car parking charges to support city centre during COVID-19 pandemic. Councillor Thomas.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Thank you, Chair. Can I first of all draw Cabinet's attention? I've discovered a typo on page 70, the last page of the report, Appendix B, that needs corrected. It doesn't change the body or the content of the report in any way, shape or form. The financial impact is exactly the same. It's just that on the last but one line on Appendix B, it says if 2014 customers paid £2 rather than £3.50, that would be a loss of 18,128. That should read if 12,085 customers paid £2 rather than £3.50, that would be a loss of 18,128. So the financial loss is exactly the same. It's just the amount of customers. So if that can be amended in the final report. I'll then go on to discuss the report, if I may. As we're all aware, this council has tried to do everything it can to support businesses throughout the council. Anything from street trading licenses, pavement licensing. We all know the story behind it is that businesses, along with all of us, are finding this a really, really difficult time. We did have the free parking offer running through the peak of the lockdown through the summer months. And then as things started to get back to more towards the normal, we reintroduced parking rates. Now, every Christmas, we're always running promotions within the city centre anyway. And of course, this year was different than normal. So we've looked to do that same sort of Christmas promotion just in a bigger way and by bringing it forward for a longer period. So we discussed at length with BID about what the type of promotion. So this isn't just a promotion plucked out of the air. There's a lot of thought and effort gone into this about what would be the best type of promotion that would do what it says in the tin, because we are trying to attract shoppers into the city centre to support our businesses. And this idea came up in conjunction with BID. First of all, it's a relatively simple promotion. It's £1 for 2 hours or £2 for all day. Easy to understand, easy to message and to advertise. And more importantly, which is something we've never done before, this applies to all our car parks. Okay, so there's a varying saving depending on where you park, but in some of our, sort of the quadrant car park, there's a significant saving from what the current rate is. Obviously, this comes with a cost, which is outlined in the report. The difficulty we have at this time is it is very much an estimated or guesstimated report based on what losses may be, because we don't know the footfall, we don't know the usage yet. So it's based on what we predict or think will be the impact on this offer in attracting people into the city centre. So for the first month, because we wanted to start it immediately after the all Wales lockdown, we've already introduced this as of the 9th of November. we've targeted the city centre offer to shoppers predominantly. So it's in two parts. That's why with discussions with BID, that's why we haven't introduced the offer until 9:30 in the morning. So generally speaking, that's when shoppers head for the city centre from there on. We didn't want it targeted to shop workers who could take up all the spaces in the city centre car parks and be challenging. What we've done to accommodate the city centre workers is to reduce the cost of the park and ride sites and schemes. So there, and it runs throughout the day, there's no set time for it, but it's £1 for all day parking in our cities, in our two park and ride sites. So for workers wanted to go into work to support, obviously, work and support in the businesses, we are looking to them predominantly to offer to use the park and ride. That's a better system. It reduces carbon emissions as well into the city centre, but it leaves the city centre car parks free for customers, which is predominantly what the businesses need. I'm very pleased to bring this report again. So as I said, it's what we're looking for is we've introduced it from November the 9th, and that I was able to do that under delegated powers, pending approval from Cabinet. So we're really looking for endorsement for the Cabinet for the first month of the offer, which is from the 9th of November to the 9th of December, and then Cabinet approval to extend it till the 31st of January from there on. Also with the ability to give authority to myself, Chief Finance Officer and Head of Highways, so that if there's a need, and it will again be in discussion with the businesses, to potentially expand that beyond the end of January towards the end of March. And that's all I wanted to say on it, Chair. Thank you. I move the report based on that. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Thank you for moving that. I'm happy to second. Are there any questions or comments to Councillor Thomas on the report? If not, there's only one thing I was going to add. Of course, Councillor Thomas is right. This builds upon the most significant package of help we have ever provided to businesses, not just in the city centre, but across the entirety of Swansea County, where we are supporting them. And of course, people may ask, well, what are you doing elsewhere? And of course, I would remind people that many of our out of town car parks and our outlying car parks are already free. So there isn't a discount to be applied to them. But this is targeted help to allow people to come in, whether they work or whether they shop, in a safe way, and to reduce the costs of doing so for both workers and for those that work in the city and shop in the city centre, because we want the city centre and our city to come out of this pandemic stronger than when it went in. So I can see Councillor Francis Davis has his hand up. So Councillor Francis Davis.
Yeah, I would strongly support what's been brought forward by Councillor Thomas. This is all part of the economic recovery of our city and our city centre, and so therefore will go a long way to help people access the city, make it more attractive to come in, and help these businesses in the city centre during this very difficult time. So thank you, Councillor Thomas, and your officers for working hard to bring this forward.
Yeah.
If I could come back, Chair, on that, thank you for the reminder about I forgot to include as well, it's not in the report, but as an aside, obviously this offer is focused on the city centre, and as you quite rightly said, a lot about outlying city shopping areas already benefit from free parking. One area that obviously doesn't is Mumbles, and I am subsequently waiting for a report to land on my desk in the next couple of days, and we'll be looking to make some announcements, particularly around Mumbles, of where we can do similar. They won't be exactly the same, but they'll be similar minded with similar purpose, to try and make reduced tariffs for customers to come in and support those businesses down there. So that's pending, and that'll be a result of further announcements.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification, Councillor Thomas, because again, I know you have been very vocal about us supporting communities anywhere across Swansea, which is what this Cabinet and this administration seeks to do. So thank you for that, and thank you again, as Councillor Francis Davis said, for the work that you and your officers have done on this. I think it's a very good proposal, and as you referenced, very important that it's what the businesses and others in that area think is the best promotion for them as well. So Thank you for that. We've got the moved and seconded recommendations. We'll now go back to the vote. So those against first, please, if you wish to show. Okay, none. We'll go to abstentions. Are there any? And then finally, if you could show if you're in favour of the report, please. Okay, thank you very much. Yep, that is unanimous. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. And then we'll go to our next item, I think is our final item, which is the Graig Road reconstruction. I go back to Councillor Thomas. Just before I do, those members who are members of this ward have sought legal advice, and there is no need to declare an interest on this report. So just so that's clear, that's why we're not declaring an interest. Councillor Thomas.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, again, for clarity, this Graig lies in the Morriston ward. The Graig Road, sorry. It's been subject to landslip and failure for a couple of years. Currently, the road is closed, which causes an issue for us as an authority because we have a statutory duty to maintain all our highways and maintain access. There have been ongoing issues there beyond our control. And it has taken a lot of research, a lot of work. We've employed geotechnical companies to come in and help and advise on this. And we finally got a report in front of us now where I've got a recommendation for a way forward on this. Earlier this year, in March of this year, Council approved a £7.4 million capital allocation to highways. So we will be looking to draw down on some of that on any underspends this year or carry it over into next year to be able to redress this problem. It needs addressing now. If we leave it any longer, this issue will only get worse. So we are looking to commence work, hopefully straight after Christmas. By the time we'll be employing companies to come in and do it, and with a view then to safely and be able to reopen the road and have it for normal traffic usage. I'm pleased to bring the report because I know, and the Morriston councillors will know, there's been a tortuous saga with this road. It's a huge job. It's a massive undertaking, but it's something we need to do and have to do. And I'm looking for Cabinet support today, so if we can agree the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Appreciate that, and thank you for the work that you and your officers have done in this, because it has been a huge undertaking, as you say. I can see Councillor Lewis next.
Thank you, Leader, and I want to thank the Cabinet member for bringing this report here today. I wholeheartedly welcome it. Having been out on several site visits and met with lots of the residents there, this is a serious concern, and they are works of a deeply urgent nature. So I wanted to wholeheartedly welcome it. It actually spans Morriston and Mynydd Bach ward by the nature of the geography of where the road is placed. But I'm very grateful to Councillor Thomas for bringing this, and it can't come a moment too soon, I'm sure, for those local residents who are very fearful at the moment of any potential landslide. So thank you to the Cabinet member. And I'd like to formally second the report, please.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis. And yes, and I'd in addition to the work that Councillor Thomas and his officers have done, which, as I said, was very grateful for that. As you quite rightly say, the worry for residents in that area of damage to their properties, of a further slip in terms of the land there, has been of huge concern, and everybody can sympathise with that. I'm also, like yourself, grateful for the support and involvement and work done by the Mynydd Bach members, because I know they've been involved as well in terms of trying to make sure that they represent the concerns of the residents on the Mynydd Bach side of Graig Road. But this is absolutely the right thing to do. We cannot sustain a position where we know there are significant risks there to both houses and the road itself. So we need to move to do those works, and I'd fully support this report. So thank you for that. It's been moved and seconded then. Is there anybody who wishes to come in before I go to the vote? No, okay. So we'll go again. Any against, please? None. Okay, any abstentions? Okay, none again. And those in favour, please, if you could show. Okay, thank you very much. And that is unanimous. Thank you all. Okay, and we then have the exclusion of the public report, item 17. You've all got the reasons and rationale laid out there by the legal officer. Can I ask again, do you accept that that recommendation? All in favour?
Move.
Happy to move.
Okay, thank you very much. That is unanimous. So, Mr. Evans, I'll pause there for you to pause the recording.